Hey, this is Robert Brune from DC Media Group. I am here with Aldo, who's here for the Reject and Protect No KXL encampment here in Washington, D.C. This will go for approximately a week. Aldo, what can you tell us about teachings here on the National Home?
My name's Aldo Sioux. I'm with Oyate Wahachka Woechun, the Shielding the People project of the Rosebud Sioux tribe. We're here supporting our allies in the Cowboy Indian Alliance against the KXL Pipeline, against TransCanada's pipeline through the country. We don't see any benefit from it. As tribal people, as human people, it's not in the best interest of our nation or the United States for that matter. One of the issues that we have with the pipeline, right, is if something happens with the pipeline, you know, they tell farmers and ranchers, get as much money as you can from TransCanada. If something happens, you can move. Where do we go? Where do we go? That's been our land since time immemorial, and we just can't accept the sum of money and leave. You know, that's the reality of it. The other issues that we have is you have a workforce that's following the pipeline. So those jobs they talk about don't really happen to the average community of those individuals, because you're used to working with a workforce. You know their productivity, you know what's happening. Those foremen don't hire out. Those men don't have a vested interest in our communities. And what we see with the pipelines is we see an increase in crime everywhere the pipeline goes, because they're not vested in the communities. We don't know if these people have had background checks. We know that in our communities, our women are subject to a lot of domestic violence, a lot of sexual violence. Actually, we have the highest statistic of any ethnic group. Our women are 1 in 3 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. 86% of the time, that's a non-native perpetrator. Because of jurisdictional issues, we can't prosecute someone that's not native. So what happens there? That case goes through the cracks. You know, you look at that issue. That's before even the pipeline's laid. Then we look at the culturally sensitive areas that weren't properly surveyed. Pipelines going through those areas of historic significance. No one goes and builds pipelines through graveyards in an urban community, in a non-native community. You know, if someone passes and there's a grave, there's a lot of respect there. We don't get that. We're not afforded that respect. People just go ahead and they just go through our treaty lands, our territories, and it's sad. That consideration's not there. The other thing we have is the Oglala Aquifer. It starts in South Dakota and it runs to Texas. You know, we have tons of production wells, tons of farming wells, agricultural wells that are along that route. The closest one to the pipeline is 4 miles. In talking to our hydrologists for the tribe, they talk about this cone of depression that's created from pumping. As you pump water out of the ground, there's a depression forms and it starts to draw everything into the water source. And that can go out to 5, 10, 15 miles. So if there's a spill within that 4-mile radius, that tar sands, that all of those chemicals, the acetone, the bitumen, dilbit, that's going to go right into the aquifer. And that's heavier than water. So you can't clean that. That falls down into the aquifer. It uses that cone of depression and that well to go all the way down into the aquifer and pollute it. You can't clean it. You know, in situations where you're dealing with crude oil, you can skim the water surface and pull that oil, but with these chemicals, they sink to the bottom. You would need huge reverse osmosis machines to clean it, and it's unrealistic for cleaning the drinking water of 2.3 million people, for cleaning the water for 30% of the country's agriculture. It just doesn't make sense for any of us. You can't make gasoline from this. You know, you talk about stabilizing the economy around fuels, around gas, and our dependency for fuels. When you look at, you know, their websites, you read the material, you're talking 3 to 8% crude oil across that pipeline. When if you look at that, that's exact same production we're getting right now from Canada. It doesn't change anything. You know, you're sitting there looking, then you're looking 97 to 92% of tar sands that can only be used for making coal. It doesn't make gas, not plastic bottles. It makes coal for third world countries. So we can't use it in the United States for a reason. It pollutes our air. But we're going to give it to, you know, a country half the world away and let that same pollution come and affect not only those communities but our own. You know, and talking to the frontline communities in Texas, a lot of the kids are on breathing machines now. You know, that sulfur that's released, those chemicals that are released, that scars their lungs, it hurts their breathing. So kids, adults, they're all being affected by those chemicals. You know?
I know this is concentrated on the pipeline and tar sands. Have you experienced anything around fracking? Because you talk about the aquifer, and they have similar problems with destroying the aquifer.
So our soil composition's different. So fracking in our area isn't as beneficial to those industries. So luckily at this time, it's not in their best interest to frack in our area. Okay. So and even to draw for oil, it's not really in their best interest. And the reason the pipeline's an issue isn't that the oil is being drawn out of our area. It's because of what the potential for contamination.
Okay.
That's what we're worried about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you talk about any of the other tribes that will be coming here, or the relationship with ranchers? I think is interesting.
Well, I think both things are interesting. You know, we have tribal communities going from Canada all the way down to Texas. All of their treaties have been violated. You know, all of them are feeling the same impacts that I'm talking about right now. There's a presidential policy on tribal consultation that's not being followed on this. The National Historical Preservation Act, Section 106, has not been followed on this. And those are huge things. Those are the rules the government set. You know, and then you start getting just into treaty law itself, and that not being followed at all. When you start getting into the Cowboy Indian Alliance, people go, "Wow, this is some new thing." No. You look at the Pilgrims when they first came, when they hit Plymouth Rock. What did we do for them? We gave them food. We gave them shelter. We looked for them. That alliance to help people, it's in our nature. We've always been there. And when our relatives to the south in Nebraska said, "We need your help," we answered the call. And likewise, they came to our aid too. So that's just being human. That's being good relatives. That's what this is about. There's somewhere along the line, we forgot how to be good relatives. We forgot how to be human. And this is what it's about. It's about being good relatives. It's about not being good relatives just to ourselves, to our own communities, our own ethnic populations, but to each other and to this earth. So that we can all live in harmony and we can be here another 1,000 years, another 2,000 years. You know, so that we can tell stories for this from way off into the future. So our grandkids and their grandkids can know about this and know what we did. And they said, you know what, they made that right choice. Obama made the right choice. He said no. That's what it's about.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you.
Okay.
What's your tribal affiliation?
I'm Yoeme. I'm Yaqui. But I live in Rosebud.
Oh, right on. I want to go out there too.
I've been out there for a few years, yeah.
Right on.